Hey everyone, welcome to our newest episode on Crypto Leviathan. I'm your host Dalibor, and this is Andrew. So there's been a lot of moving parts today in the market. We've seen a huge downturn, and we've also seen a bunch of hacks happening in the crypto space. So Andrew, do you want to break down what's been going on lately?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that crypto's dropped like 40%, um, for a variety of reasons. I think has a lot to do with, inflation, supply chain issues, unrest in areas of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big things that actually we've seen happen right now is that crypto is considered being banned in Russia, and the European Union is also making moves to try to ban proof of work coins. Now, I don't really see how they're going to ban proof of work coins. That's going to be something very interesting. But in Russia already, cryptocurrency is already restricted, so you can't use it for payments or if you want to buy anything. So basically, it's just used as a token there. So we'll see how it plays out, though. What are your thoughts
Well,
on that?
I think they'll ban it at the exchange level, so you won't be able to easily convert it from Bitcoin to other coins or to the nation's currency. But they won't be able to ban you from mining it or transacting between individuals.
Yeah, it's also puzzling me. Why are they banning specifically proof of work coins, right? They say it's because of the environment that they're targeting them. However, I don't really believe that because I think it has to do with more control of the monetary policy. Because with a proof of work coin, you can't really control it too easily. However, when it's like a proof of stake coin, you still can because you can inject liquidity into the market. You can manipulate it. They usually have a team who manages this coin, but with proof of work, you don't really need this. So that's where I think the move is. They're concerned that they'll lose control over their monetary policies, and that's what they're forecasting.
I think that makes sense, right? Because with proof of work, anyone can participate with any computer really, depending on the coin. If you have an old laptop, you can mine Monero still or some other CPU coin, and a lot of people have gaming desktops or even a gaming laptop, so anyone can participate. But depending on the coin, such as Ethereum, you can't necessarily participate in staking if you don't have 100,000 US dollars or more, depending on what it's worth right now.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how it plays out. I'm optimistic. I think they're just talking about doing this. I don't think they'll actually happen, but we could be wrong. I think Russia's the most likely to implement this. The EU is much more slow moving. And the biggest question then is, will this happen to the US or Canada? I would say don't worry about it for now. It may happen maybe in a 6 months to a year. They might be announcing this stuff, but it could also not happen. But that's yet to be seen. Another big piece of news lately is that Crypto.com got hacked last week. Around $30 million were actually stolen from users' accounts over there. So it'll be very interesting to see, again, how the security is taken into the space because Coinbase had a hack also last year. So clearly, there's still a lot of security concerns here that haven't been ironed out. But a lot of it is to do because the exchanges aren't regulated like banks. Additionally, it's just a new space. So a lot of these companies are startups. They don't have the security still set up there.
Was there any info on how they got how Crypto.com was hacked?
Um, Still not to be decided. I still think they're investigating. However, I think their two-factor authentication, they've completely moved to another system. So if you had two-factor authentication set up, you have to completely redo it. So I assume it's something to do with their two-factor authentication being compromised.
Okay, makes sense.
And no one's lost any money. They've compensated everyone. But that's a big risk, right? Be keeping your money on exchanges. You're open to these type of hacks. And there could be scenarios where there's such a massive hack that you can't get your money back because the company's out of business from this hack. Because once you lose that crypto, you could potentially not be able to retrieve it anymore.
Yes, and we have a few stories about that today.
Yeah, absolutely. So Anything else, Andrew, interesting in the news, or should we move on to our main topic today?
Well, what's going on with the stock market?
Well, similarly, like people are scared about rising interest rates. People are collecting. There is some there's some concerns over speculation that a lot of these people who just bought in are cashing out. So we'll see how it plays out over the course of this year. I suspect that if interest rates continue rising, we may see further declines, but eventually it should stabilize and the trend should reverse. Because, like, for example, we're seeing like 50% declines in some individual tech stocks, particularly in the crypto space, which makes no sense because these companies are way more profitable than they were previous this pandemic. So I think right now it's just the market is overreacting to some of this news by the Fed.
Okay. Well, we'll see because we've been in this territory before, so it's hard to say if this will last a month or a year. But I'm still optimistic.
Well, with crypto in particular, the bull cycles tend to be very short and the bear markets tend to be very long. So, like previously in the 2017, 2018 bull market, it was much shorter than this one. And the recent downturn that we're seeing is probably, in my opinion, the signals of start of the bear market, which is not necessarily a bad thing. This is a great time to, stock up on graphics cards, on coins that you're interested in, start staking because you can accumulate a lot of this. So, like we've seen when the Bitcoin highs that were like 10 to 20,000, it was a very big deal back in the day. Now it's at 80,000. So if it drops down to 30,000, there's nothing saying that it won't hit 100K, 100K plus in 2024, right? Which is the next halving of Bitcoin. So what a halving means is like the block rewards that miners get are reduced. And when that happens, the likelihood of it spiking in price is very high because the supply decreases. So we'll see. What are your thoughts, Andrew?
Yeah. No, I think all we can do is just wait and see and watch because we'll see how how COVID comes to an end and all the supply chain issues come to an end and what kind of rules that various governments around the world put in place.
And that's another
Yeah,
thing
we
that we're
have no control over that.
yeah, that's another thing that we're going to have to look at is what rules are, how are they going to regulate it? A lot of countries have started, but I don't think they've implemented full rules just yet. So let's move on
I
to
think if
our
you
main. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think if you want a leading indicator of how some governments might do it, just look at what China's doing. They're probably going to be at the forefront of regulation and crackdowns.
Yeah, that's one direction. I know other countries like El Salvador that have completely adopted it as their currency, basically. So I think we'll see those two approaches, which some countries will become like havens for crypto, and some countries will go down the path of we want this stuff gone.
Well, Venezuela's using crypto. I just don't think they're using Bitcoin as much as you'd think. I saw a news segment and they were saying that a lot of the population was using a coin called Reserve. I don't know much about it. It might be something that a local developer made. I'm not too sure, but it's called Reserve.
Interesting. I'm very curious. We should definitely research that one a little bit next time.
Oh, I don't know about that.
All right. So let's move into our main podcast segment. So we're going to talk about how can you protect your crypto because, considering like the hack that happened at crypto.com, and there has been examples of this happening in the past. So there is some ways and some precautions you can take to protect your crypto. Number one, the biggest thing to realize is exchanges are not banks. Exchanges are regulated by the SEC, but all the money that's deposited there is not guaranteed. So if for whatever reason a hack happens, like crypto.com reimbursed the 30 million, but they didn't have to do that. So if a really large hack happens, you could end up holding the bag. That's the first point. Second point is all the private keys to your crypto, which is basically like the master key of your crypto wallet, is stored on the exchange. So you don't own that wallet. And because you don't own that wallet, they can take and confiscate the money if they wanted to. I'm not saying that they will, but they potentially can do that. So those are the main two disadvantages of keeping your money on exchange. There's others as well. So another one that also comes to mind is the lack of privacy. So the money in your account doesn't mean that it's in your account at the time. They could take that money, play around with it, invest it like a bank does. So that money in your account necessarily is not there at the time, which I know some exchanges are doing it, not all of them. And that's basically traditional banking. If you ask me, storing it at an exchange. Obviously, if you're a day trader, it always makes sense to keep your money on exchange because you're buying and selling constantly, high volume. But if you're investing for a long term, there's definitely ways you can protect your crypto from hackers, from malicious players in the market that potentially want to take your hard-earned money.
Yeah, for sure. So there was a exchange called MTGOX, which is a Japanese-based exchange. They started off with Magic the Gathering. So I'm not sure if they actually became a Magic the Gathering exchange, but that was the original vision of the founders. But they pivoted and switched over to Bitcoin. And so they launched in 2010, and by 2013 to 2014, they were handling 70% of all Bitcoin transactions in the world. But by 2014 February, they suspended trading, closed its website, and then they filed for bankruptcy. And they announced that 850,000 Bitcoins, so not $850,000 worth, but 850,000 Bitcoin from customers was missing and likely stolen. So at the time, that was worth about $500 million US. And so the theory was that, I guess, coins were being stolen or siphoned off slowly, and eventually the whole system had to kind of collapse. And that was I think, first big exchange that went down. So there's them, and I think you looked into another one called Quadriga, which I think was Canadian.
Yeah, so Quadriga FX is a more recent one, and I actually know some people who are personally impacted by this one. So they were mining back in like 2017 to 2018, and they're mining to a wallet on this exchange. So there's a lot of sketchy stuff about Quadriga. So the first thing that happened is the founder of the company, he was basically a one-man show running this company, and he was around 30 years old. He took a trip to India and he mysteriously passed away from Crohn's disease. Apparently, he had Crohn's disease and developed, I think, some septic shock. Passed away in India, and because of his passing, he was the one who had access to all the private keys. Only him. So $150 million worth of crypto on this exchange was lost because it was unable to be retrieved because he was the only one who had access to the private key. So once the system went down, no one could get their money out. And there's a lot of theories that, he faked his own death and took that money. We don't know. We'll never know probably. But I think the bottom line is keeping your money on exchanges has proven time and time again that it's an unreliable way to invest long term.
Yeah, so if you're someone who wants to buy and hold, you might want to hold it in a, I don't know, what do you call it?
Cold storage.
Cold storage wallet or paper wallet or something like that. And we have a few recommendations as well. But obviously, if you're a trader, then you don't have an option. Just go with the exchange that has the best reputation and has the best security, but they're also susceptible to the same issues.
Absolutely. So, what is a cold storage wallet, you might ask? So each wallet has a private key associated with it. And you basically, with a cold storage wallet, your key is stored on a physical device that's separated from the computer. So the only time this key is connected to the network is when you're actually plugging your device in and you unlock it to use it. So that's one advantage, is because if this key is never exposed, only when you actually plug it into the computer. That's number one. Number two is only transactions can happen when you're connected. And when you're connected, you can buy and sell, you can deposit, you can send money. So there's two main companies that basically do this. There's Ledger and Trezor. Now we've used Ledger a lot in the past. I think their software is better than Trezor. Trezor is open source, so some people like that aspect of it. Ledger is basically a closed operating system. So those are the main two differences I really see. Ledger has, I think, better design, better UI, but it's more like Apple versus a Windows type of comparison, I would argue. Some people say that Ledger has a little bit better security. So the reason why is because you enter the PIN on the device, but on a Trezor, you enter it on a computer. So it's more maybe susceptible to being hacked because you're entering it on a computer. I don't know. Though this is one drawback with cold storage wallets. If you enter your PIN wrong 3 times, it erases all the data on there and you can no longer access it. So you have to redo the seed on the device. So the seed is when you buy this cold storage wallet, you basically have 24 words. You have to store them somewhere. You can use a book. You can encrypt them in some sort of cloud storage you have. You can keep them in a piece of paper under your mattress. But the bottom line is this 24 seed you must keep, because if for whatever reason your hardware wallet breaks or you lose it, you won't be able to recover your funds without it. So those are the main criteria. We would recommend personally like a Ledger Nano X or a Nano S. We have both. We use them all the time for our mining business and for personal use. The main difference between them is the Nano X has Bluetooth, so you can use your phone to transact. But the Nano S, you have to connect to a computer, and it also has less storage, so you can only store a couple wallets. Versus Nano X, you can store way more wallets.
Yeah, nice. And you actually have you have our Nano X with you, the actual device?
Yeah, I'll pull it out. Just give me 1 second.
We chose a nice color for that one. Is that the pink one?
No, this is the Nano. This is the Nano X. It's not that
Okay.
one's not.
You have the other
But
one?
I have the other one. I will show it as well. We got this one at the time when there was a shortage of them, but we have a nice pink one right here.
Yeah, so you can see they're quite small, about the size of a USB drive with a little screen on them.
Yeah, they're not much bigger than a USB drive. You can carry them in your pocket. You can carry them around your neck. They're very easy. That's why I said, and they're also if you don't take precautions, it could be easy to lose. They're just like a USB drive. So that's why you have to back up the seed, and don't fret if you actually lose it. As long as you have the seed saved, you can enter your seed back into a new ledger and then access your account again. So that's why it's very important to not forget this.
The seed's the most important thing. So don't worry about it, because the ledger has a lifespan, right? It might last a few years, and say you break it or you lose it or you drop it in water or something, you don't lose your cryptocurrency. You still have access to it as long as you have your seed. So the seed is the most important thing to secure. The Nano or the ledger, it's your gateway to accessing your cryptocurrency in a secure way.
Absolutely. And we're going to have a link below in this podcast. So if you want to support the show, you can shop and purchase a ledger there if you would like. We recommend these products. We use them. So don't worry about them not working. They definitely work well at what they do, protecting your crypto. So there's definitely some other ways as well you can protect your crypto. So I think it goes back to some basic network usage. So when you're buying and selling or transacting, make sure you use your secure router, secure network, and a VPN, preferably if you're not sure. So perfect example is if you're trying to move like $5,000 worth of crypto, don't go to Tim Hortons, don't go to a random store and transact. Make sure you're at home or at a secure place where you can do it. However, if you have to transact, use a VPN, because you don't know who's monitoring this network and what they're transacting. And I've had personal experiences where I had my bank account password stolen because I used it at a Tim Hortons before. So just make sure to keep that in mind. You don't know who's monitoring this network. And that's just a basic security protocol you should take for everything you do, not just crypto.
For sure.
Something
What other
else,
tips do we?
um, keeping multiple wallets, I think, is also useful. So think of this circumstance. Let's say, so I have two ledgers I just showed you right here. You can set up separate seeds on both of them. Obviously, this would be a crazy example, but let's say for this is like my Nano X is my main ledger and my Nano S is my backup. So if for whatever reason my Nano X is compromised, I can move all my funds to my Nano S. Now they can't access it still. So having like a backup address set up, it doesn't need to be another hardware wallet. It could be a software wallet. So you go on and create an account. Just make sure that you always have a backup just in case. And it's not too hard to set up like a software wallet. There's many options. I know, Andrew, you've used the MetaMask one, right? So there's a couple that you can use, set up, and keep that as a backup just in case. You never know.
Yeah, so for MetaMask, I wouldn't keep too much money on there, just enough to, power your transactions or whatever you're using it for, because MetaMask is required for having an account on Decentraland and a variety of other things, such as OpenSea, the NFT market. A lot of them use MetaMask as a way to log in, and you'll need a little bit in there depending on what you're, trying to achieve. So I wouldn't keep too much money in there, but you do need a MetaMask account for many things.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess something else that if you want to protect your crypto, it's again, this is generic advice, but I think it's very useful in crypto because a lot of people are hacking this space. I think it's important. Regularly updating your password. So if you use the same password for email, log into your computer and every account, if one of your accounts, so let's say you have a Facebook account, gets hacked, then they have the password to your whole everything. So if you keep your money on an exchange, they can log into your exchange using that. So make sure that you keep at least different passwords and regularly update them across the board to prevent this issue happening. Because that's how a lot of people get hacked is you've created an account with a company that doesn't have great security. So your account gets compromised there. They take the password, then they try your email across many different other places. And that's how they get able to get into your account. So just make sure you keep varieties of different passwords around. You can use like cloud password managers. I know one I use is like 1Password, and that works very well. That's one way you can keep your stuff secure. And there's been many things that have happened. So I worked at a company where we have experienced a hack, and it's because of these password management. You have to make sure that across the board, passwords are managed well. Then that goes for everything, not just crypto, right? For banking, for Facebook, if you have an Instagram or basically anything like Amazon account, just keep your passwords different. I can't stress that enough because it's so important, especially as our lives are becoming more digital. And it's going to be increasingly more hacks are going to be tried in these areas. So you're increasingly going to have to up level your password game, making sure that all your passwords are constantly updated. And this is very easily achieved through a cloud password manager. So let's just say because we have all have like 20, 30 accounts and keeping track of them is hard, but if you have 1Password, it's very easy. So if you use a cloud password manager, you can basically create a password there, copy and paste it into your login, click enter, save that page. So every time now you go visit that page, it autofills that information for you. So that way you don't need to memorize your passwords. And for whatever reason, if you need to access it, you have a master password to access your list of passwords. So it's very simple. And I think it provides an additional layer of security that's very needed.
Did you want to talk about scams at all in order to, what to avoid and what kind of scams are common in the crypto space?
Yeah, so there's I would say the most common one is, oh, send me some crypto in order for me to send you even more crypto. And if anyone's ever telling you that, it's a scam. Total
Well, think
straight.
about it like this. If someone approached you on the street and said, hey, if you give me $100, I'll give you $200 back, would that ever happen? And would you
No.
trust them? So why would it be any different in this case, right? However, there was a recent hack that you might on the face of it think, oh, maybe it's possible, because it came from very prominent Twitter accounts. It came from Elon Musk's account, I think Donald Trump's account, and a few other celebrities, and it came from their legitimate accounts as a tweet saying, send me this amount of crypto and I'll double it, or something along those lines, right? But you know what? Just be be a skeptic, right? Always think, am I being scammed? Anytime someone asks you for any money in life or crypto or anything of value, ask yourself, am I being scammed, or is it possible? Even Google it, look it up to see if it's a common scam, because a lot of these scams have, take many forms and are, well documented. So look it up. There's probably a forum about it, like a Reddit post about it.
Yeah, that's definitely the most common form I see out there is send me some crypto to receive some crypto. Like Andrew says, if someone approached you on the street, you would never do that. So never do that in the crypto space. Another common scam I see is like, hey, I need your private key in order to send you something or do some kind of transaction. That's also a scam. You should never, and I repeat, never for any reason give anyone access to your private key for nothing. That basically gives them control of your wallet. Never do that. They can send all your money and they will take all your money. You should be protecting that like it's your life. That is you basically your master key for that wallet. And a lot of people who don't understand this end up giving it, then they empty your account.
Just to be clear, your private key and your seed, that's the same thing. They're just they're the same thing.
Yeah, same thing, different terminology people use. So those are interchangeable. So if you're trying to buy something on crypto, make sure it's from a legitimate source. So I know when we were buying an ASIG, we bought it in Bitcoin. And Andrew, do you want to talk a little bit about how the process was and how we made sure that it actually went through the transaction?
Yeah, I double and triple check just to make sure we weren't being scammed. So we bought a ASIC through a company called InnoSilicon, and I think they're either Hong Kong or China based. And if you look at their website, you might think it's a scam website. It looks like it's from like the early 2000s or something. And so also it's very hard to come by an ASIC. So to have anything that was in stock and that was going to ship right away sounded a little suspicious. So I double triple checked to make sure it was the right website. I went through it. I Googled InnoSilicon, went to the first legitimate result, and I double checked a couple other websites to make sure that was the proper website for InnoSilicon. And then I went to the checkout process, and you had two options. And so this is, I guess, a credit to crypto and how it can be more efficient. So you had two options for payment. You can either do a bank wire transfer, or you can do a Bitcoin. I think it was Bitcoin only. I don't think they were taking Ethereum. And so you have those two options. So I could drive to the bank, wait in line, have to spend I think $20 or $40 or whatever wire costs, or I could just sit right there from my desk and then just send the transfer for almost nothing. I think Bitcoin fees are very, very low, and so that's the route we took, and so definitely a lot more, a lot more efficient and quick. And so in terms of security and making sure that the transaction went through, they gave us a wallet address to send it to. So what I would recommend is that if you're ever sending money from your wallet to another wallet, don't type it in by hand, because these are very long strings of digits, and so highly susceptible to typos. So always copy and paste, and at the very, very minimum, check the first few digits and the last few digits after your copy and paste. So if you copy and pasted and the first few digits are correct and the last few digits are correct, so you're comparing it from two different browser windows or from your phone and the browser window or what have you, as long as you have that, it's very unlikely that you have a mistake in there. But take the time, I would recommend, to read the whole string and compare both of them. Even have someone double check for you, especially if you're sending a lot of money. If you're spending only a few dollars worth, maybe just check the first few digits and the last few. But if you're sending thousands of dollars, read the whole thing, have a friend double check. And that's what we did. Oh,
Yeah.
and so what InnoSilicon wanted was, after we sent the transaction, I think they wanted, I forgot what it was. They wanted just, I think, to go check the, what would you call this? Like a kind of like an event stream where you see all the transactions happening in the
It was like a
blockchain.
checksum. I forget what the correct terminology is, but I think it's like a checksum that shows that this is a transaction on the block that happened.
Yeah, so they wanted to see that the transaction happened, and eventually we got confirmation that they received it, and then we got our product within I don't know, 3 weeks or so. So definitely take all the steps. The difference would be if you were to do a wire transfer through the bank teller would probably do a lot of these security checks for you. So here's all on you. So if you're sending a large sum of money, double, triple check. Oh, another thing, and this has to do with the way we sell our crypto from our mining business. We use a company called ShakePay, and so we send it from our mining wallet to ShakePay, and then from ShakePay we send it to our bank account. But this hasn't happened to our business account, but my personal ShakePay account, it's happened a couple times. And fortunately, I caught this. I found that ShakePay's receiving address changes for me. For some reason, I've read on Reddit that it happens to other people too. So if you do use ShakePay, always double check that the wallet address is, or I guess double check what the current wallet address is if it has changed. So when I send it from my pool account, I had a saved wallet. I just labeled it ShakePay. But had I not checked to see if that was still currently the address, it would have gone to either another person or it would have just disappeared. So also always double check the receiving address to make sure that it's still the same. If it's like a repeat transaction, go back and check if it's still the same. Always a good practice, no matter what, just to make sure.
Absolutely. And I think even as an added check, you could also look up that specific wallet you're sending money to on the blockchain. So there's like tools on the internet. So you take that address, look it up. And normally, if it's a scam account, there will be very little transactions or no transactions at all, and they'll have no balance in there. However, if you looked up now in Silicon's wallet, you probably see like tens of thousands, maybe millions of dollars in there that they're transacting, like cashing out, sending, receiving. So if you see a wallet with huge amounts of activity, that's normally a sign that it's more legitimate. And most scammers just set up a bunch of fake wallets, divert money in there. The reason why they do that is they don't want people figuring out that these wallets are scam, because then you can report them. And as we discussed before, federal government now has ways to actually track cryptocurrency transactions. So if you create a scam one, you can circumvent this.
Yeah, a lot of good tips here.
So is there anything else, Andrew, that's particularly interesting in the crypto security that you can think of?
No, but I think we'll probably touch on this as we go going forward. I think every once in a while we'll bring up new, I don't know, I guess scams have happened and other tips and tricks that we come across.
Yeah, it's fascinating, all these types of different scams that they think of, and some are so absurd, right? And basically, like I said, anything that you're sending money or you need to send to get receive, you need to go like through what process that Andrew just described, going to a Bitcoin ATM, doing a bunch of these shenanigans. It's a scam, period. If if it was legitimate, it would feel right in your gut stomach. When you have a feeling something is wrong, then it's most likely a scam.
Oh, another common one is they'll say that you either owe money in your taxes or that you're in trouble with the law in some way and you need to pay your fine by going to a Bitcoin ATM. So I'm pretty convinced that the only people who use Bitcoin ATMs are people who are being scammed.
And you know what's funny? If you need to pay your taxes in Bitcoin, but we're trying to ban Bitcoin, that totally makes sense, right?
Yeah.
All right.
So if anyone out there listening, if someone approaches you and you're a little suspicious of what the proposition is, whether it be something employment related or some kind of opportunity, don't be afraid to reach out to us and we can analyze it for you and give you our 2 cents.
Absolutely. So you can follow me at Crypto Dalibor and at Andrew Kryptonite with is it with a K or a C?
C for crypto.
There we go. And you can follow our podcast at Crypto Leviathan Podcast on Instagram. We're very active there, so just feel free to message us if you have any concerns, or if you want to share like a new type of scam, we'd love to hear about it and maybe cover it.
So I
So
think that'll be something we'll do going forward. We'll cover the news and new scams periodically.
yeah, there's always creative ones that they think of, right? So it's they'll be never ending.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks for listening. Stay tuned for the next one. We are working on getting another guest for the show, and you would definitely won't want to miss next week's show. So stay tuned, keep listening, and we'll get through this tough patch in crypto.